Have you noticed that, starting in January 2026, the tone used by several regular experts on CCTV's military programs, when discussing the H-20, has shifted from analyzing possibilities to setting a date? Since the start of 2026, CCTV's military channel has seen a noticeable shift. Military commentators familiar to military enthusiasts, including Du Wenlong, Song Zongping, Cao Weidong, and Fu Qianshao, have successively expressed in their programs that they eagerly anticipate the H-20's official debut. Du Wenlong even directly cited 2026 as the specific timeline in reports by Xinhua News Agency and CCTV. Such a pattern, where multiple experts make coordinated statements that are then widely reposted by core state-run media, is rare in the history of China's military equipment disclosures. The experts' wording has gradually evolved from past statements, like, "It may debut at some point," to more specific expressions such as, "debuting this year," and "making a grand entrance." Cross-verification of multiple sources indicates that the H-20 project has entered a stage where it can be openly discussed. Public awareness of the H-20 designation can be traced back to September 1, 2016. At the time, General Ma Zhaoshan, then commander of the Chinese Air Force, publicly stated at an Air Force open house event in Changchun that China was developing a new generation of long-range strike bombers, adding, "You will see it in the future." Observers widely interpreted this statement as the first official confirmation that China was developing a new generation strategic strike platform featuring stealth capabilities, nuclear and conventional weapons capabilities, intercontinental range, and a large payload capacity. Over the following decade, the H-20 became a project of sustained international interest. However, compared to other 20 series aircraft such as the J-20 and Y-20, the pace of public disclosures regarding the H-20 was noticeably slow. It wasn't until late 2025 to early 2026 that the pace of updates suddenly accelerated. Wang Wei, deputy commander of the Air Force, had previously stated publicly that the H-20 would be unveiled soon, and that there were no technical bottlenecks. Satellite imagery from an airbase in Shanxi in late 2025 showed a diamond-shaped flying wing aircraft escorted by multiple J-16s, which analysts interpreted as evidence that the project was undergoing intensive test flights. The reason the H-20 remained unannounced for so many years is that significant technical challenges did indeed exist. The outside world has primarily focused on two key difficulties. The first is stability control in a flying wing configuration. While the flying wing design offers inherent advantages in stealth performance, the absence of vertical and horizontal stabilizers makes it prone to instability during low-speed flight, and its handling characteristics are more challenging than those of traditional layouts. This is also one of the main reasons why the US B-2 can only fly at subsonic speeds. Second is the issue of propulsion. A stealth bomber must provide sufficient thrust while ensuring low detectability. Judging from the technical information released between 2024 and 2025, solutions to these two problems appear to have been found. A team from Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics has achieved a breakthrough in aeroelasticity technology, raising the flutter critical speed of flying wing aircraft by 62.5%. This means that while maintaining the stealth advantages of the flying wing configuration, the H-20 may break through the subsonic barrier, becoming the world's first strategic bomber capable of both omnidirectional stealth and supersonic penetration. At the same time, the finalization of the WS-15 engine, the industrialization of T1000 grade carbon fiber composite materials, and the official rollout of a 5-meter diameter composite materials engine HL have all provided the necessary power and material support for large stealth bombers. The fact that CCTV launched this round of intensive expert commentary in early 2026 cannot be understood solely from the perspective of technological progress. There are several noteworthy trends in the current international environment. Recent statements by the US Secretary of Defense have shifted the military focus toward great power competition, accelerating the deployment of B-21 stealth bombers in the Indo-Pacific region while advancing the development of sixth-generation fighter jets. Pressures from trade wars, technological decoupling, and unilateral sanctions are also continuing to mount. Against this backdrop, the unveiling of a true stealth strategic bomber represents more than just an enhancement of combat capabilities. It is also the sending of a strategic signal. From a geopolitical perspective, the emergence of the H-20 will address a significant shortfall in China's air-based nuclear deterrence capabilities. Currently, land-based deterrence relies on the Dongfeng series of intercontinental ballistic missiles, and sea-based deterrence on the Zhulang submarine-launched ballistic missiles, both of which have established mature deterrence capabilities. However, Air-based nuclear strike capabilities still depend on the H-6 series. The latest variant of the H-6K has an operational radius of approximately 3,500 kilometers and a maximum payload of about 12 tons, making it difficult to cover strategic targets beyond the second island chain. It also lags behind US and Russian strategic bombers in terms of range, payload capacity, and stealth capabilities. If the H-20 possesses a range of over 12,000 kilometers without refueling, an operational radius of over 6,000 kilometers, and significantly enhanced stealth and penetration capabilities, it will fundamentally alter this situation. Based on the typical development cycle for military equipment, it usually takes 8 to 12 years for a strategic bomber to progress from project approval to its maiden flight, and ultimately to final certification and entry into service. Counting from 2016, when Ma Xiaoshan publicly disclosed information about the project, 2026 marks exactly 10 years, a timeframe consistent with the development pace of similar large-scale strategic platforms. Choosing to unveil the aircraft at symbolic milestones, such as the 100th anniversary of the People's Liberation Army, the Zhuhai Air Show, or National Day public events, also aligns with the standard practice in the aviation industry of showcasing major equipment at key junctures. Multiple sources indicate that the H-20 of May have already completed its maiden flight, or is in the final preparatory stages before its maiden flight. Satellite imagery from a Western test flight base in late 2025, along with subsequent shifts in official media rhetoric, support this assessment. A 2026 report by the RAND Corporation also acknowledged that just 12 H-20s would be sufficient to deliver a crippling strike against the Guam base, indicating that external intelligence agencies have revised their assessments of the project's progress. Prior to 2025, U.S. media and some think tanks were largely skeptical about the H-20's progress, commonly assessing that China had not yet fully mastered core technologies such as engines, stealth materials, or flying wing control, and that the project might be delayed until after 2030. However, beginning in the second half of 2025, several U.S. media outlets, including the National Interest began to adjust their assessments, shifting their focus to emphasize that once the H-20 enters service, it will alter the strategic landscape in the Pacific and exert substantial pressure on frontline bases such as Guam. Foreign intelligence agencies' assessments of project progress are typically based on comprehensive analyses of technical intelligence, such as satellite imagery and signals intelligence. The shift from pessimism to acknowledging the threat indicates that they have obtained data sufficient to alter their judgment. Meanwhile, some public statements from U.S. Global Strike Command have attempted to downplay this threat. However, China has already demonstrated mature application of stealth technology with the J-20, has deployed flying wing drones, and in the field of large aircraft manufacturing, the Y-20 has entered mass service while the WS-15 engine has been finalized. These technological reserves provide comprehensive support for the H-20's development. Based on the above information, there are two possible timelines for the H-20's public debut. One is within 2026, if the project has successfully completed its maiden flight and initial test flights, and if the government wishes to quickly fill the strategic gap in the Asia-Pacific region, then this year's Zhuhai Air Show or other public events would be an appropriate window. The other possibility is a delay until 2027, when it would serve as a significant tribute to mark the 100th anniversary of the People's Liberation Army, better aligning with the significance of the occasion and the ceremonial atmosphere. Regardless of the scenario, the density of signals accumulated to date has surpassed the scope of ordinary technical discussions, pointing to a definitive conclusion. This strategic bomber, which has drawn international attention for nearly a decade, is not far from being unveiled to the public. Once the H-20 makes its public debut, its significance will extend far beyond the mere rollout of a new aircraft. It will fill the final gap in the air-based nuclear deterrence chain, marking the moment when a third player formally enters the arena of global strategic bombers, a domain long dominated by the United States and Russia. For anyone following developments in military aviation, the coming months warrant close attention.